Today I show you how Black Clover has already revealed how Asta will be able to use all of Licht's original sword abilities. A small detail that we have all missed. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video, let's go! In this video I focus only on the Demon Dweller sword to explain how Asta will be able to use the true ability of his swords. Just like Licht did in the fight against Asta and Yuno. The Demon Dweller sword usually only has dark markings on the blade, at least when Asta normally uses the sword. Only in 2 cases he was able to use his sword differently and make it glow, just like Licht did against Asta. Asta was able to absorb the magic power of his friends without them using their magic directly. It was as if they were sharing their magic with Asta. I believe that this is the same ability that Licht used against Zagreed. In fact, it was his ultimate magic. Of course, much more powerful. In the battle against Zagreed, Licht said that he and his elves will now launch a full-scale attack. For this, everyone should give them their power. The fact that Licht asked for power could be an indication that this ability is tied to the free will of the people he asks to actually give him their power. So he can't just take magic from Zagreed unless he absorbs it directly like he did with Yuno's Spirit Storm. It's obvious that this ultimate ability doesn't work that way. People have to agree, even if only subconsciously. And if we compare this to the 2 times Asta used the swords through power, we see that it's actually the same ability with just much less magic. Because only one person was involved and not a whole group. The first time he used this ability was in the fight against Mars in the dungeon. Noelle really wanted Asta to win and Asta did everything in his power to protect her. That was the moment when her trust in him really grew. This bond that they both experienced at that moment built a connection between them, and so Noelle was able to lend Asta her power thanks to the sword ability. Without Asta having any intention of taking her power, it just happened. The second time he used this ability was in the cave, when he and Gauche became true comrades for the first time. Gauche experienced what Yami had told him years ago, that one day he would be ready to protect someone other than himself or his little sister. At that moment the sword's ability was activated and Gauche gave Asta his magic power. Once again Asta did not initiate it, but his comrade did. This clearly proves 2 things. First, Asta did not understand how this ability works, and without proper explanation will never understand how it worked, because as explained, it is initiated by the people who want to share their magic with Asta, not by Asta directly. It wasn't anything he did by chance. And now that Asta has become so powerful that he no longer needs to rely on his friends' magic, since he can now use anti-magic himself and usually doesn't fight with them anymore, but with other people who are more or less on his level, such as Nacht and Yami. This effect just doesn't happen anymore. Of course his comrades still believe in Asta, but they most likely have faith in his own abilities, that is, his anti-magic. So perhaps the emotional and mental condition that made this connection possible just isn't there anymore. To me that makes sense, but that doesn't mean that Asta will never be able to use that ability again. In fact, the opposite is true. He needs to understand how it works, and then ask his friends directly to give him their power, like Licht did. He couldn't just take their magic power without permission, he had to ask them directly. That's what Asta has to do to be able to use this ability. That will be his ultimate magic, so to speak. And the second thing is that Asta should be able to use all the true abilities of the Demon Dweller sword, because the sword itself has those abilities. It's not Licht's sword magic. The proof that Asta was always supposed to use this ability in Black Clover can be seen in the Black Clover one-shot. Asta received the Demon Dweller sword together with his grimoire, not the Demon Slayer sword, like in the Black Clover manga. And also the ability of the Demon Dweller sword was different in the one-shot. He could use it to steal other people's magic, so in this case, the ability had nothing to do with taking the magic of his friends. Those are the 2 aspects of the sword. In the one-shot, Asta could basically do what Licht did against Asta and Yuno. So Asta has always been destined to use the true ability of the sword, and here we come to the point of how Asta can use the true ability of the sword. The answer is quite simple, through Ki. Ryo taught Asta not only how to control Ki, but also how to manipulate it in the same way that other people unintentionally do when they create magic. They think they are directly manipulating mana, which is wrong. Most of them don't even know that Ki exists. And since Ki is an essential part of every human being, it's like blinking your eyes. You don't think about it. But in Asta's case, it's a little different because he was born without mana. So he has never used his ki to manipulate mana. For him, this process is completely new. If Asta had mana or magic power, he would now theoretically be able to use magic. This is interesting because the true abilities of his sword will allow him to absorb magic or magic power. And that's the whole point. The next time Asta absorbs the magic power of his comrades, he could then theoretically be able to connect with his sword, as he did back then to use Liebes anti-magic before making a pact with him. So now instead of combining his anti-magic with Ki, which he already does with the Zeden technique, Asta could use the absorbed magic power from the sword. This could give him the source of magic, which he could then use to maybe even use his own magic. We don't know if Asta was really born without a magic ability. Like Ledros for example. Ledros, unlike Asta, has mana but no magic attribute. So maybe Asta just doesn't have mana to use his magic ability. If one is possible, then why not the other way around? Of course, this is only possible if the different mana elements do not pose a problem that could make it impossible for Asta to manipulate the magic power. For example, if Asta's actual magic attribute does not match the element of the absorbed magic power. But to be honest, it doesn't matter. Ledros, for example, could absorb any element and use it in his own way. He couldn't use his own magic with the absorbed magic power, but he could use it in the form of beams, similar to Licht when he releases the absorbed magic power from his sword. So in any case, Asta would be able to use at least the same ability as Ledros, that is, magic beams. But possibly even much more depending on what is possible due to Ki manipulation and combination with his swords. Raya has confirmed that the Demon Dweller's sword has multiple abilities. If Asta manages to use this sword with his Ki, then it could become his strongest weapon that will give him access to real magic. So it depends on whether this sword is actually controlled with Ki or mana. When Veto attacked Yami, Yami confirmed that Veto was able to read his Ki, so it is possible that some elves are able to manipulate Ki. At least they are aware of this concept, unlike the Four Kingdoms who focus only on magic and probably have never heard of Ki manipulation. A small hint that Licht is able to manipulate Ki was that Asta said he couldn't sense his Ki, so somehow Licht is able to hide his own Ki. I can well imagine Ryo doing the same thing to hide how strong he really is. Asta said that he can tell the strength of a person by their Ki, and that Ryo is very weak based on his Ki. But Ryo doesn't have magic, all he has is Ki. So how can his Ki be so weak, and yet he's the Shogun? We saw how strong Ryo really is when he easily stopped 2 full Zeden attacks. I don't have to explain to you how sharp a katana is. And Ichigo was also able to increase her own Ki by a factor of 100. So since Asta did not sense any Ki from Licht, which shouldn't be possible, and since we also have the evidence that Ki can be suppressed and amplified, this is a clear indication that Licht might be able to manipulate Ki, suggesting that the swords work with Ki manipulation. What exact abilities Asta will get from all 3 swords is another very interesting topic. Licht, for example, could not show the true ability of the Demon Slayer sword. That is still a huge mystery, but I'll do a separate video on that next week. If you don't want to miss this video, subscribe to this channel with the notification bell activated. And let me know in the comments what you think of this Black Clover theory. And if you like this video, please leave a like. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!